Okay, I can see that we're live now. Good afternoon to everyone joining us from the Gulf during your lunch break, and a very good morning and good evening to our international audience joining us from outside the Gulf for the fifth installment of the RIBA Gulf Live Lunch Talks. I'm Mithuna Murugesh, the RIBA Business Development Manager for the Gulf. I'm pleased to welcome members joining in from all 7 countries within the GCC, as well as various countries internationally, including the UK, China, and Switzerland, to just name a few. So, welcome to you all. Before we start, some housekeeping items. If you would like to join the RIBA, please do send in your email address in the chat bar alongside, and the team will be able to support you personally. Similarly, if you have any thoughts or questions for our speaker today, please send them in at any time during the session in the chat bar alongside. Today's session is a special one. Joining us from Jordan, we have an incredible architect from the Arab world. Dr. Rasem Badran is an Aga Khan Award winner and Tamayu's Lifetime Achievement Award winner. He also recently joined the RIBA a couple of months ago as a chartered member. So welcome to the RIBA as well, Dr. Badran. In today's session, Dr. Badran will talk about his professional career as well as a specific topic known as humanized urbanism. So over to you, Dr. Badran, and welcome to the session.
First of all, I'm happy that I have the chance to talk to your audience, and we hope that it will be a successful event. I try to limit myself within the time given to me. So I just want to start, first of all, to talk about my history, why I studied architecture or how I get in this profession. So I will show you now some of my family background. My father was one of the well-known Islamic artist. He is one of his kind. As when he passed away, the UNESCO described him as one of the big masters in the Islam Muslim world. He studied in Cairo, and then he in the 20s, and then he moved to UK. He get a scholarship from the British government to study art and fine arts in UK in the 30s. And then he get back to Jerusalem where he has his studio, and then he start, doing his artwork, and then he moved to Ramallah later on. So just showing you, and then I want just to say about myself. I was born in Jerusalem. This is one of my sketches of Jerusalem from memory, because I was in Amman. So I started, my childhood in first of all in Damascus, and then we moved to Libya in North Africa in Tripoli, and here I start, go back here to show you my first sketches when I was 4 years old. I mean, here I tried to start doing drawings from memory. So I go back home and then try to using this watercolor technique to draw what I have memorized in my head. And later on, when I was 6 years old, I asked my father how I can make a drawing, visual, real drawing in 3D. So he showed me just one word about the finishing point, and then I grasped it, and then here I found my world to use perspective in when I was 6 years old. So he's showing you when we lived in Damascus for 3 years after we left Palestine, and then here it was my life actually. I lived the city, let's say, community, the city market, the city festival occasions. I used to see it and go back and draw it. So as if city was part of my concern, how I expressed it through my very humble drawing when I was 10 years old. So and then later on, because we lived in Tripoli was in that time the base for the big USA Air Force base, one of the biggest. So I used to see the airplanes landing, all kinds of planes, fighters, carriers. So here I got in love with what called airplanes, flying objects. So I did exercises by building it when I was 11 years old, I think. And then I went to the RC remote control airplanes with a one piston engine. So I designed some of them. This was my dream to be an airplane designer, not to be an architect. Yeah, to go more in the flying objects. or even the battleship. This is one of the big American battleship which were participating in the Second War. It visited the Tripoli as coastal city. So we used to visit this ship, and I got fun with the technology, and it has reflection even in my later on drawing. You will see it later on. And then I was fun with the aircraft, with the hovercraft. This was when I was 17 years old, I think. So I did details of the hovercraft, how it works. It was by using a jet engine or a turboprop engine. And then here showing you the history of my with the airplane when I was 7 years old, and then 10 years old, and then when I was 16 years old, and finally when I reached 17, I designed my own airplane. So I get in the all details, and then I also went to some details. I mean, here showing you the 0.707 in the rainy environment, showing you the bus, how I developed a bus which take the passengers from the airplane to the terminal. So and then maybe 3 years back, I mean, when I was old, I mean, I did some sketches about airplanes. Till now, I still have this passion, you know, and sometimes I ask myself why I studied architecture, why I should be. Even Airbus contact me once to design something, but it doesn't work. It was a bit complicated. So still, I have passion for airplane designs. I mean, and then go back to the history of my family when we traveling to Europe when I was 15 years old or 14. These are the trains in Rome, Stazione Rome in Nazionale, and then this is the what they call the train, the German train. So I visit the cities, and when I go back to Tripoli, I try to design to draw from my memory. So memory was for me very important. How you memorize, how you store in your head a lot of events, and then you draw it, spell it out through drawing. These are some of my, let's say, research about battleship with rockets. When I was, I think, 17 years old. I mean, this was 1962. And then even Tripoli was in that time the jewel of the Mediterranean. It was populated by the Italian community. So there is the quality of the city by everything, by itself. So this is the film of Titanic. When I was fun by this very you know, sensitive film, and it affected my soul. So when I get back to home, I start make a drawing about how I envisioned Titanic with all details. I mean, this one when I was, I think, 15 years old. I was just, and also when we visited Italy, this is an open concept of Beethoven. I was in love with Beethoven. Beethoven for me was a hero. That's why I went to Germany, because I want to go to Germany, which produced Beethoven, not to go to MIT, Harvard, or any kind of well-known. And then for some reason I was applying to study aeronautic design in Egypt in 1962, but I failed because my score was a bit weak. I couldn't get in the engineering university, so I decided to get back to Ramallah, and then to make some kind of to examine myself. Can I be an architect? So I decided to design an airport of Jerusalem. This is the influenced by the rock of the dome, and I designed also the aeroplane. This is the British aeroplanes. So I spent more time to manufacture these small airplanes. So I did many trials before I went to study. Before I decided to study architecture, can I be an architect or not? So this actually was my. And then I went to Germany. I've been accepted by Darmstadt University. This is one of the very crucial universities in Germany. And I participated in the. I was part of the student movement, 1968. So I was a troublemaker, and through my work. So this is actually one of my. This is one of my study work in the university. Showing it's called the theater of the future. I mean, it's a play theater. We met through this theater Peter Cook, Yuna Friedman. We've been in contact with Ashley Graham at that time, and this work was published in a very important book where they also we've been working with musicians of the deconstructionist music. I mean, like Maurice Kagel, Karl-Heinz Braun, and Stockhausen. So this is the book which published some text of this, let's say, veteran of the deconstructivist in music, let's say, composition with our work. So this is actually my first work being published in a book. These are some of the documents about this study project, about the theater of the future, or the where the city can be the whole theater. So we design everything. We design, it's a mobile theater. You can use the programmatic structure, this what they call it with air. So the whole thing can be built with, and watching the building process, like the circus tent. So here showing you the theater, how it can spread all over the city using the public space. So the public space was part of our concern, how we make the balance between the mass, the private, and the public and semi-public. And this actually the communal concept of architecture, not just work for the sake of architecture. We are working for the sake of people, how you can raise their knowledge and then they and try to shape their behavior to feel more and more psychologically proud of themselves. So this is actually my graduation project in Kuwait. This was also I violated the university rules, and this work has given the highest score ever in the history of the university, and it was published in one of the very important magazines, H2, the French. 1971. I was surprised that they accept and put it in their actuel. They had a page called actuel. So this is actually one of I have submitted 80 drawing, and then finally when we went to the end, I told them, "Do you want to see plans?" They told me, "No, we don't want to see, we don't need to see plans, because you try to create a story how you create this concept of housing in Kuwait." And this is actually the model. I did it. And then later on, after 20 years, we've been invited for a competition for the same site. And I submit this concept. So they told me, "You are dreaming, Rasem. So sorry, we can't accept it." So actually, the same site being announced as a world competition, and I don't know what happens. Now, during when I finished my study, because I was a distinguished student, I got many offers. One of them was to work in the Munich complex in München, in Munich, 1969 till 72, and then okay. Before that, we've been invited to a very important competition, a European competition. For the middle income housing in Bonn. So and it was a competition. It was a consortium of architects, industrial material research group, and then manufacturer, and then contractors. So we built our group, and then we submit our work, and it won the first prize. It was built. This is a composite concept of precast of a container facade. Of a plastic, let's say the net, what they call the facilities like kitchen and WCs being a plastic box inserted. It was a futuristic. I mean, it was expensive. So they put it once, they built it once, and they didn't repeat it because it was an experimental housing. So I was part of it. This is one of my sketches. And then we did also another sketch showing the communal space, how we stress on this human aspect, that people living in a open space like another home, like this become the big home for the community. And this actually the work which I did it was service objects for kiosk and card control in Munich. So we did small office, and then this is actually this myself. It was manufactured in one of the aeroplane industrial plant in Germany. So it's funny that I was dreaming to be an aeroplane designer, and then my first work in Germany was manufactured in an aeroplane industrial firm. So that's showing. These are the kiosks. Now they've been kept in a big museum in Frankfurt. They call the heritage. This become part of the World Heritage, our work. Thanks God. This is actually what we submitted. It was in that time for the German unexpected, these metal elements coming from the space. So, and then I asked by Dorma, one of the biggest door handle firm, to review their work. So they invited Henning Larsen, John Nobel, and myself. We make a small meeting in their office in Frankfurt, and then they asked me to design some of the door handles. This was, I think, 6 years back. Now, these are some of my sketches about Amman, where I live. This was in the 70s. These are some humoristic sketches. Sometimes I get fed up on this bloody architecture. I want to go more in the nature to discover the quality of material. You see the glass, the plants, my father, my sister, and sometimes I think I have more than 5,000 sketches. I'm reviewing and I have more than 80,000 slides. Now, this is actually my first work in Jordan. It's a worker community complex. It has a morphological concept, how you treat that mountain. Instead of building towers, I cover the mountain with this kind of very sensitive morphological. And these are some of my early houses in Jordan. Now, these projects, I mean, these early houses, which turn the house to become like a small city. It was all submitted for the Arkan Award, but it was not. It didn't went through. But anyhow, my early work in the 70s in Jordan put me in the international venue. This was one of my turning point in my life when I've been invited by late Rifat Zudiji, he is big master, to participate in this competition. They invited Ventura Scott Brown, Bofill, and the Japanese architect, and another 3 masters from Iraq, and I won the first prize. The mosque become like a city. I mean, I always change the title. I don't go to the hospital become a home. The mosque become a city, etc. So it's this one of my how do you deconstruct the whole title. So this is my book actually, which show you both aspects. The right side, the housing with the cement factory housing, which I showed just now with the stairs as a communal space, and people now are writing in the West about this work which I did. Now on the left side is the housing for the very healthy people in Syria, in Beirut. And I was the only Palestinian or Jordanian architect who did some work in Beirut, in downtown Beirut, and considered to be the best urban design ever built in this city. So this is our work as sketch, and then I couldn't photograph because there's a security area. Now, when I reached the age of 60, I don't want to tell you how old I am. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Berlin accepted an offer from us to do a big grand exhibition about the story of my family, starting from 1940 till 2005. Starting my late father, myself, my sister, she is a big artist living in Barcelona. She was well known through her mask. And my son, Jamal, who I will show you his work, who studied in Bartlett, and my sister, my daughter, Ola, who studied in St. Martin, in London. It's a theater design. So this actually, this was never happened that a government talk with a family to host such competition, such exhibition. Now I go to the subject of what I'm talking about humanizing urbanism. Now here, this image show you a concept of a fabric of urban morphological concept in the desert. How it comes through 2 images. I photographed why I was flying from Riyadh to Amman. So on the right side, this is Jordanian the desert, the southern desert character, and then in the left side, this is the Saudi. So I found that the right one is the moving sand dunes, sand rivers, and the left is the still sand dunes. So these are the houses, and the right one is a mountain. So I put them all above each other, and then I got this concept. So many people in Saudi Arabia told me, why you don't then build cities in the desert which blend with the desert? I think blending with nature, especially when living in such desert culture, it's amazing. It's really it's like Sahir. It's very magic, you know, how you feel God, how he created this kind of valley between the high and low, between this like it's like the veins, like human veins. So as if human veins become a ruling concept for designing the fabric of such cities. Now I show you that now I think we are fortunate that the Earth, Google Earth, give us this chance to watch, to stand, to learn, instead of reading books. Just watch in the Earth Google the changing pattern in the Earth by man-made or by nature. And here, talking one city in North Africa, Rabat, Casablanca, you see it in 3 different decades. The historical, the traditional, in the left side is more social, and then the more industrial, and then the more political. So here, there's a sign. Can we understand these signs? Are we aware about it? This is what concerns me, actually. And here I'm talking about even during my flying from the airplane, I make this photograph of this very in the desert, in the Saudi desert. It's like weaving. It's getting together like the upper image. So the city become not a graded city, not like a piece of cake. Like we see it now. The next image, you see this is catastrophic. I mean, look, I mean, these are the modern cities which we are suffering from this parcellation of the quarter. When you are moving from one quarter to another, you need half an hour. These big roads, which are 10, 15 kilometers, as if they are runways, compared with the airway in Frankfurt. So I mean, it's a shame that we are getting in this kind of city. Just make grids and make a city. What kind of there's no responsibility. There's no feeling to people how they can live within this quarter. I mean, it's a shame, really. And look, I mean, look what happened in Cairo. I mean, look, this is the dense fabric, the morphologies in the left side, as if you are living in a container. I mean, is it this is true? I mean, so how we can imagine what kind of social structure will be born? You are creating a sick social, let's say, phenomena. I mean, criminal, not aware, they don't feel, they don't see, they are blind. Imagine we have millions of people who are living in such community, in such. So I must doing just kind of comparison between the linear and linear. This is some of my photography. This is the in Tehran, the left side. Yeah. Also, I am against this kind of concept compared to the one in Damascus, and try to find in Google how it looks like. Now in Google, it looks like next image. Now here you see the upper part is in Iran. You see to the linear. You don't give any moment to look at it. Now the one below, it's Damascus. You feel that there's a story. You want to discover it. You want to give more time to watch all these finely, let's say, open spaces with alleys, small walkways, courtyards. The upper one, you see it once and then you forget it. So the idea is, do we live in a city where we can memorize it? This is very important. Most of us, we are living in a city where there's no memory. Now, one of our first work, which we did with my friend Ibrahim Abdelhalim from Cairo, he is one of the big masters now and still living in after Hassan Fathi. So the Islamic International University in Humanising invite us to review their already designed campus in near Kuala Lumpur. So this actually what I found in Google. This is what we have produced. Actually, you see the areas, you see different courtyards. There's a moment of discovery. I remember once when I met Liebeskind, he told us that it's good to find a way to discover what comes behind, what comes next. When you have this linear concept, there's no discovery. So the left image show you the sketch of the proposed campus by local architect in Malaysia, which is linear. Or the side is very dynamic, very organic, very moving by these hills and valleys. So we try to follow the side pattern, and this is actually the genius of that side, the Shifra, the DNA, and we create this kind of morphological concept of organic compartment of different parts. And I think I need here, I have more than 50 sketches. This need actually each project which I will show you I need one full, let's say, what they call it, lecture about it. Now, one of the very important things which I was still proud about when I was participating in a competition, international competition for designing the triangle Maspero in Cairo. So I was, before that, I was fond with the informal housing. I found it so magic, so sensitive, so communal, so there's equality between people. There's no differences, and this is what I call about humanizing. We are living in a city where the rich are living in a higher class and the poor are living in the lower. This creates what they call dash. This creates the violence. I am trying to find a way how you create a peaceful cities by really morphologically and materially you can reach it. So I submit this competition. I told my team we will lose it because we are trying to submit an ethical concept, not just in a commercial. Before that, I was working in that informal housing, and I found, so I went there. I love it. People are creating their own community. They have their own security. They are one big family. Now we are living here in modern city. Each family is distracted to being distracted. We don't feel we don't know who is your neighbor. You don't feel this communal. Yeah. Next. So here is actually a board telling you the story of this competition, which we lost, and we know that we will lose it. But you know, the NGOs in Egypt, they always invite me to talk about it because they like it. So many artists, many actors, and even activists, they are in contact with me because they like the idea of how I try to break the barrier between rich and people, between wealthy and the poor, by creating a community which include all together in one space. So here, just I don't want to. After we lost the competition, I start making research because I like the work. So this are some of my how we can make this mashrabiyya. And here talking about the pigeon culture to become part of, because this is very important in the rural community. And most Cairo is 80% it's informal. It's coming from the rural. So I took the rural concept as background of my when I been forming this kind of that concept. And actually, there's a lot of material about, but I want to show you the difference of the. And here talk about the public domain. You have public domain where rich and poor people can meet. They can work together. They can make use of their services. And they show you by such sketches on the images. I do it just showing you the right side is the informal housing. Let's say community, how they look like. And then we go to another. I want just change the subject. I went to Yemen. Yemen is my weak point because I love it. I got in love with it. We submit this work. We submit two different projects, and sadly we be not chosen because for some reason. But what happens? The students of the University of Yemen, they decide to talk these boards. I submit more than 40 boards. They print it in a book and it becomes part of the teaching material for the university. So I divert the competition to become a teaching material for the students, and what they call the ordinary people who want to choose something like the old Russian towers. I mean, this was the result of that competition. So I'm proud that my work being taken. I told them, okay, take it. It's for you. So they print a book about how you understand Sana'a. Okay. Even Ron Lukok, when he saw this, I told me, Rasem, when I decide to print my book about Sana'a, I will put your work in it as example how you. Now, one of my experience was in dealing with Mecca in the 2000s. So this actually our first project, which we submitted for a huge urban development in one of the mountains facing the holy Mecca. But sadly, they choose something else. I mean, and they never publish it. But I published in my book. So these are some details of how I get in the micro details, in the mashrabiyya, and the climatical concept. Because sometimes I feel that through my drawing I can give a written context statement. So instead of talking, and because I'm not a good talker, I'm not a good speaker, so that's why I found that my sketches are multilingual image, how you understand what I have in my mind. So this showing you the process of this urbanization, starting from the left, the existing organic, and then suddenly you move to the how you learn from that communal blocks to make it more acceptable for the today's need. So this is a big I mean project, and I love it. And I published my book. If you find my book, you will find it with a lot of sketches and aquarelle. And then we invite to another big complex around Mecca called Shamia. We won it, and here showing you our concept of how we did with this organic walkways facing Al-Kaaba, and even comparable with one of the big late Algerian towns in Algeria. And then they asked us to work with Genzla, but the work has been stopped because the whole site was being changed. Now I want to come to the build projects. I think the time is now. As I told you, when I been invited to design it was a big competition in downtown Riyadh, the Grand Mosque and the Justice Palace and the big museum. So we won in two projects, the Grand Mosque and the Justice Palace. So here showing you just the image. I was to the material, to the palm and the mud. There's a harmony. I mean, and this work was awarded the Aga Khan Award 1995. There is the first work, a contemporary work for mosque being nominated as such in that time in the Arab world. Now I was really trying to read from that image, which was taken by the British Air Marines or the force. This is an air view of the mosque in 1912. Here you see the old mosque with the market, and then you see in the same place what we did, the mosque, as if we transformed the people moving to something. We added this kind of what they call it, the building around a belt, a social belt, which was not in the TOR. So we proposed them, and the client liked it. And the client actually is one of the very prominent clients called the Riyadh Development Authority. Now it's the Royal Authority for Riyadh. I mean, it's run by the MBS, by the Prince Mohammed. So actually, so here showing you the different sketches. How this was my sketches that I did on site on how we create places, how we create public spaces, and the client was so knowledgeable. I mean, we really found such a client in the Arab world, and I think I am fortunate that I worked with them because they were so supportive. And this was published, even this was founded by King Salman. He is now King of Saudi Arabia when he was Prince of Riyadh. So it was his task to build Riyadh, the new Riyadh. So I am happy that I was fortunate that I worked with Prince Salman when he was Prince of Riyadh. Now he's the King of Saudi Arabia. So here showing you till this moment, actually, thanks God. I mean, so this actually the work done by it was manufactured by Domains, who did the museum in Paris. What do you call it? Anyhow, I mean, Domains is one of the big firms who executed the Justice Palace, and Hyundai left is the mosque. So in that time they were prominent, and this is the mosque from inside. You see the lighting coming from above lighting. We worked with Hubble. It was one of the very happy moments when I worked with them. Until now we know them, and sometimes we laugh how we've been getting together. I tried to give Hubble some ideas about how I look about the air conditioning system, and this actually mosque is the most economical mosque in Saudi Arabia. You hardly need electricity to cool it. Now the mosque, let's say the site context is so rich. It's made of different courtyards, public spaces. It has changed the people's life. So in weekend they did a lot of markets and festival compared to what you see in Marrakesh, Saqfina. So I'm just comparing now how we changed the habit of the city. Now the mosque itself is like a city. When you go to the mosque, you go through small walk alleys. You can walk, you can talk, you can hear Kulthum music, Arabic music till you reach the mosque. And after the prayer, you sit in the ground. You sit. So it becomes a communal skin, not just a mosque as a temple. I am against. So the mosque become and even change the people's life. Here, see the Saudi enjoying the spaces in the mosque, and compared to the Moroccan guys. And here they added also in the just for us this seating arrangement like you see it in Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. So, and then we come to the next project, which is very important. It was the office of Prince Salman when he was Prince of Riyadh. Now he's the king. This actually the whole story how it's been developed. This needs actually a full lecture about how I get the image of the local traditional, how I not borrowed, I understand the way why it was being done. The question why, it gives you the time how you can create this why or this the reason why and how, but not what they produced. So this actually the just palace in its final, it was finished in I think 1992, and then fortunately this building next was documented in the Saudi note for the first time in the world. So I am happy that my work is now being, and some people ask me, Rasem, give us 201 so that we keep it as a your cut visit. It's too expensive. So I am happy that for the first time this work being acknowledged by the Saudi in its higher official. Now the next work is also has to do with the traditional part of Riyadh. The King Abdulaziz Center is also the way when King Abdulaziz lived in that area. It's been moved to a big museum. I don't want to tell you how it been involved, but here this museum was giving the first prize by the international awards for livable community. So I'm proud that this work has been acknowledged worldwide. Why? Because we care about the communal space. Forget about the museum. People go there because the communal space is so rich. Thousands of people are spending their time in the different character of this open space, the green, the dry, the water. So it becomes a teaching space, and the museum is by side. If you want to go there. If not, you don't need to force to go to the museum. So that's why it has become a very public. So here showing you the different steps, how I put it through a sketch, the morphology, how the museum can connect the neighborhood, not to separate them, and how we can make use of the green to create an ecological walkway. Here's the green spine, because it's very hot. It's about 65, 52, 55 degree in shade. So we create a very, very pleasant and acceptable open space treatment, like in trees, like using the green and so ecologically it was. That's why it's been awarded, because really it's full in summer and winter, regardless. When next, please. And even there will be workshops done by students coming from the Arab world about this project and the mosque, because between the project, this mosque and the King Abdulaziz, there's about 1 kilometer long old area. So they did a lot of exercise workshops for students supported by the Riyadh Development Authority. So it's good to see and here some of the, now here I changed the pattern, how I look to the technology using the metal roof to cover the old courtyards. The courtyard become a living museum. This is the part which we did. And here I comparing our part, because this museum has 3 different categories: the Folk Museum and the Political Museum and the Historical Museum, which was designed by Shima Muriyama in Canada. But here I show you the comparable image of what we did for the big museum of Islamic art in Doha, where Zaha Hadid was participating and Richard Georges, and we won the first prize. So just showing you the morphology. Now we come to a place where still now it's become now very, very popular and very, very. It has the highest venue now worldwide. It's at the RIBA. So we took part of the RIBA. We invited to design a cultural center with a market. The cultural center is facing the old city where Saud family being born, called Troyev. So because I don't want to hit this mud city, so the whole building being poured in the ground and turned to be a plaza where you can walk. And underneath it you see the offices. So And this is the first time done in the Arab world. And my friend Henning Larsen sent me one message, told me, Rasem, I think we have the same soul. He did the same thing in Denmark, I did the same thing in Riyadh, without knowing each other. I mean, so, and I think this work was the jewel of that development. And out of it, the whole region being now developed as big cities. I mean, so so showing you here the right side, so show you this building now become the Ministry of Culture run by Prince Badr Farhan. He is a member of the ruling family. Facing the old city, which become the mud city, is the biggest World Heritage Mud City. So I'm happy that our work is, and our work was submitted for the Ashram, but I hold it for a while till we lived 2 years to see how the ministry will work, because the ministry will be working underneath this slanted roof where people can walk, they can sleep, they can photograph. This is actually the back of the building. It's like gateway to this mud city. So it's become a gateway from one side. On the other side, you can walk, and people like it, and they found that it's a place, it's a healing place. People sometimes they sleep on the ground. Here are some details of here you can see the mud city. So it's you go through it, and here some of the interior. There's a lot of complex concept inside. It's very contemporary, and this is the office of Prince Badr Farhan. And here, the work of this landscape work we did with a German group who works and also in the mentioned in the Munich Olympic after 40 years. So imagine after 40 years, I met them and we worked with us in this to take over the landscape. Now in the itself, I've been invited to do some proposals. And with a big British firm, and then after that they decide to make a competition. So I show you some of how we create from this very magic, let's say, nature formation of the ground with the high and low and these veins, how we create out of it something which can fit to that city. These are some of my sketches about how we look to the morphological, to the micro, let's say, cells, which create this kind of communal concept. And here we invited also in Dubai to design the cultural city. We wanted, but it was not. Here we're talking about the parametric design. We did by hand how we can look to how we can morph the sand dunes to become like masses and the water. And then we come to something very important in UAE. It's Imkan. It's called the Riviera. So we did with my son Jamal. He has an office, and he will be working with my office Dar Omran, because Dar Omran is the office which I published in which I founded in 30 years back, and my son has his own office. So sometimes we work together. So here he joined. We've been jointly working in that what they call it Imkan property. It's between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So they asked me to do a sketch or to do by hand this aquarelle, showing you the steps how this was designed by European the master plan, but we have influenced them to fit to create some kind of communal let's say blocks. So and each block has its own character. So here the part which my son was heavily involved with my office Dar Omran. And here we did some sketches about the type of these public spaces, how we create another home for people, so you can live outside as if you have your own home without a roof, compared to the enclosure, which is more. And one of my son work, which he did through his office, it's in Riyadh. Vertical city, you see the corridor model, and then it's so it has a lot of functions, a lot of typology, a lot of gardens, big gardens, hanging in different floors, serving the people who are living in this. And another work which done by my son It's in Pakistan. It's a civic center located between informal housing in the upper part, and the lower part is the formal let's say the governmental institutional. So how we create a civic center which join the people who are living in the informal part, how they can cross this property to reach to go to their works and even to serve. So we did a lot of analysis about people behavior, and out of it ended up by creating this kind of very organic. It has no order. It followed the people's let's say routes, how they've been using this land when they are crossing. Now the final work, which was done also by my son, and we did Daraman some support. It's the invitation to design the archaeological museum in Dubai, and I think we won the project, but it was never built. It has to do with the sand dunes. I mean, because so it's also, this is actually very interesting work. I mean, it has a story. I mean, because most work done in our time, there's no story, there's no narrative. Here, there's a narrative. You can say, you can even present it to your kids, to your son, to your family, so they understand the meaning of that place and how it's been created. And I think this is actually showing from the seaside, from the port side, and this from inside, I think. And finally, I just want to end up by two images. The left one is one of my late father work. I asked him how you create this kind of balance between solid and void. He told me it's a matter of balance, is a human balance. When your eyes feel relaxed, then it's okay. The same thing happened also when I did this sketch for the expansion of the Prophet Muhammad Mosque. Instead of having a building 900 meters long, I destructed to small clusters. So there's also balance between mass and void. Thank you very much. I hope that I tried to do it quickly because the material is to need more time. I wish that I can do some let's say some presentation for one work, how it's been developed. So sorry for being boring a bit, I think, and thank you very much.
Just want to say thank you, Dr. Badran. Very interesting session. 1 hour session will never be enough to cover your work, but this is a good introduction. Perhaps we can move to the interactive session with our audience now. So, please submit any questions or thoughts regarding today's topic in the Q&A bar on the right if you haven't already, and we can get to them. So, Dr. Badran, we have a question coming from Varsha. She says architecture is a permanent entity framing our cities, whereas societal boundaries are ever changing. How can we ensure architecture stays inclusive even when situations change and evolve?
The question has to have some kind of a let's say DNA, so that this DNA can continue through time, and then it helps people to continue working or expanding through it, not to demolish it. So I always say when I do work, this work has to be after 50 years. It can be considered to be part of the place heritage. It's not just an idea. I mean, so if this idea was built on have some kind of grounded through a lot of let's say reasons. I mean, how and why and what I'm doing. This gives you the sustainable approach of how this building can sustain and can continue growing up. So here we are building, not manufacturing. You know what the problem? That we are manufacturing architecture, not building it up. By building up, you let people to continue to integrate. You exploit their fantasy. You give them some kind of hints how they can think in the coming future. This is actually what. And I think my work has some of that. I mean, because now, for example, some of my villas which I did, it becomes now part of the city history. I mean, the people in our culture usually they used to, after 30 years, they knock the villa and they build the building. Now, most of my private houses have been kept as part of the city heritage. Thanks God. So, and people are even, and who take this building? Most of the ambassadors coming from Europe. when they asking for a home, they take my houses, my villas, because they think that there's something to say about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And on that note, we have a question from Ismail. Hi, Dr. Rasem. What was your main inspiration to create these astonishing projects?
My inspiration is about how I understand it's when I look to the heritage, to the inherited building, I don't look to the product. I look to the people, how they've been treating this building when they've been alive. I mean, about how and what they produced. How is for me very important. It had to do with the human behavior, how he explained these ideas in that time. If I understand the way how he did with the climate, then I can take this in consideration and think about seriously how I can use not the same concept but the same manner to treat climate, not through technology, through the nature of the building, through the balance between the different courtyards, through the shades, because this was the way how the old veteran used to treat the building, which was produced in the final product. What we see, what we consider is heritage, very magic. So I don't take the outcome. I take the notion of these people, how they've been thinking about. I take the notion and then try to put myself in that notion.
Absolutely. I can see we have some comments here. Please, we need more than one lecture with Dr. Badran. He's second to none in the Arab world. I second that. We will get him back to speak again once more. A question has come from Momin. My question is, how do you see the urban design changing after the pandemic?
Well, I think the urban design now is being changing. Why? Because people are trying to enjoy the open air, let's say, domain, which was neglected in most cities. And people told me, Rasem, you know, what you are doing now, what people are asking, you did it 30 years back. So, because even when we look to the houses, when we look to the community, which I try to build, even this worker community in Amman, we give more effort about how we look to the open space, become like the other home without roof. So it becomes the other salon, the other kitchen without roof. So here you are spending 50% of your time outside. Outside becomes the other home. How do you design it? Not to make it. You design it and then you make inside these designs some events, placemaking. So I'm talking about place forming, how you form the place, which absorb the placemaking. And I think till now, most of my work is concentrated on that topic. How you create this balance between the solid, the enclosure, to the exclosure, the outside. The outside become not linear, become like another home. A lot of courtyards, connection between one space to another. These connections can create air movement. I mean, so and you can learn from the history. I mean, so you learn the behavior, not the product. This is what I'm trying to. And here we are. Actually, I'm happy that my work fit with epidemic without. Because I give more effort about how you look to the people who have no home. You give for them home outside.
Absolutely. Incredible. We have a slightly more personal question here, Dr. Badran. What is next for you now?
Next for me, you know what I will do now? I told you that I have 80,000 slides. Because I'm a photographer. I started photographing from the 1960. I had more than 12 cameras, Rolleiflex, like Benold, Canon, Nikon, Bronica. So, and I have more than 5,000 sketches in different scales. So I'm trying now to make a library and to make a story. And I hope that once I will tell you about it, I will do let's say a verbal let's say presentation showing the sketches. And sometimes I was surprised because I have a lot of sketches what never built, and when I look at them, I sweat. I mean, because I am sketching since when I was a child, when I was 10 years old till this moment. So. And people told me, some princes in Saudi Arabia and some prominent from British told me, Rasem, you have to do something. these 4,000 sketches and 80,000 slides covering all subject. I mean, human faces, human behavior. Because when I do photographs, I designed the photograph before using the digital. I was using the analog, which I enjoyed much more than the digital. So you can set more time to do how to do this shot, why you're doing it, and when. So for me, each size has a value. So I'm now working on it, and it's a headache, but I have to do it, and this become my next project. I'm still working actually. I'm still working in the Saudi Vision 2030, but I can't tell because there's a secret, let's say, agreement. I can talk about it, but when you look at it, you will get mad because they are really works out of, but still they are bounded to the culture of that area. I mean, and even giving, let's say, venue for the future, how young people can cope with these proposals, cope with these ideas, so that you open them for the future based on the behavior of their past, because the behavior has changed. They have the same mentality, they have the same notion, they have the same habits. So I'm working also in that parallel.
Wonderful. A question from Saima. You mentioned something beautiful about merging the economic status of citizens in a city. Do you think we will have such housing projects which are designed for both the rich and the underdeveloped at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, what I did in Egypt, I mean, it was just simple. Even I got people from India who want to learn more about what we were submitted, because we submit a framework. It's a precast concrete skeleton, very clean, well detailed, and then you fill it with this brick, mud brick, also well formed. And this can apply for both, for the poor and rich. And this what submitted in the Cairo project. We want to let people, regardless their social, the economical level, to live together, because they need each other. The poor are serving the rich, and rich without the poor they can't live. So how you create this kind of coexistence between them, the neighborhood, so that become more they educate, they can break this kind of social let's say complexity or social barrier between rich, and even the kids can enjoy living with the kids of that more healthier people. The healthy people need more space. Okay, we give them maybe 200 square meter, but the art one need only 50 or 30. So we can create the same concept, but changing the areas, the facilities, using the same material, the same, and this is what you did in Maspero work in Cairo, and that's why many people been so interested, and even I have some offer even in Mecca. They told me, Rasem, why you don't come and try to treat the informal housing, because they look so peaceful. It's like a veil covering the mountain with a very modest, very gentle, very human. They don't kill the mountain with having these kneels, what we found in our today's cities. So I think this is actually also my notion, how to humanize the living together through the morphology, through having, first of all, to have the public space, create a public space where the rich and poor people can live together, they can meet, they can serve each other, and then here you create this, you break this psychological barrier between the upper and the lower.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think one last question as we're running out of time, Doctor. So we have a question from Tom that says, your projects and ideas show an amazing feeling of movement of people through spaces and buildings. You showed how design for the movement of cars through towns dehumanizes our urban spaces. Are you concerned at what happens when we stop moving, when we increase home working, and the concentration of people are staying local? Do you think this affects your thinking about future urbanism at all?
Even maybe you'll be shocked. Even the vehicle movement, I try to humanize it, so by breaking this linearity. Now we are working in a very big project, but I can't tell you the title of it because it's very big. We try to humanize even the vehicle route, so that every 1 kilometer you have some kind of change of direction. I want to tell you something. You know who invented the autobahn, or the speed, what they call it, the highways? The German. during the Hitler time, he decided to divert all roads to become runway for his military place, so that nobody will discover where's the military base. So all roads in Germany were designed to suit the aircraft landing. And so imagine that we are designing aeroplanes landing, let's say, routes in our cities. That's why in Germany it's forbidden, because they used these roads after the unification. Many people were being killed, so that's why they defined a rule that every 1 kilometer they must have some change in direction, so you don't get speed. You couldn't. So I think even the vehicle. Now we are working in some cities now, but I can't now tell you which one in Saudi, because it's part of this Saudi 2030. We are trying to humanize the vehicle routes, instead of having this Toxiadis Euclidean concept like what happened in Islamabad. Even in Islamabad, they asked me once, when I was last year before COVID, to do something against this kind of 20 or 15 kilometer long roads, to do something which break this kind of linearity. So I hope that once I do something regarding the vehicle, how we look to the vehicle as another concept.
Absolutely incredible, Dr. Badran. We seem to have run out of time, though we have a lot of questions actually left for you, but perhaps we can pick up at the next, another session as well. Okay, so I think it's best we close this session right now, so people, we can end it on the lunch break. So huge thank you, Dr. Badran, personally, for taking time out of your day midweek to join us. It's been a huge honor to have you here with us.
I enjoy it very much. I mean, you encourage me to do more. Maybe you can do other sessions talking about maybe one specific building, how I get in that design process, because just to go more in the micro level.
Yeah. Absolutely. We will invite you for multiple sessions, Dr. Badran. Not to worry at all. You will be invited. So thank you, Dr. Badran. Also, thank you to everyone else, joining us from your lunch break within the Gulf as well. And of course, a huge thank you to our international audience who joined us today. Just, if you are based in the Gulf and you'd like to stay updated on local Gulf RIB activities, please, feel free to join our WhatsApp group to receive curated news. So if you scan the QR code here, click on the link in the chat bar alongside, you'll be able to join our group to receive curated news. Just a reminder to you all, if you would like to join the RIBA and gain access to various resources, please feel free to send us an email as well. We're happy to help and support you personally. I think that's about it for today. So thank you, everyone. And a special thank you to Dr. Badran, of course, for joining us, and to Aldrin for moderating the session backstage. Thank you, everyone.